What's going on, boys? Today I'm going to be taking you guys through 10 more tips that will make you a better Arc Raiders player. If you missed my last video where I covered 20 tips to help you improve, I will link it in the description below, and if you want to see more tips videos like this in the future, please be sure to drop a like and maybe even a sub. But no more delays, let's just get right into the tips. You can actually do a ton of things while on a zipline. This one took me quite some time to figure out, but you can actually use a ton of items while on a zipline, such as grenades, guns, or even health items. Being able to use utility on ziplines makes rushing people that are camping them much safer. You can throw grenades to make them move and set off any traps, as well as smokes to give you and your team cover. You can also shoot while riding on these, but you do get pretty inaccurate, so I would only do this if you're shooting someone on the same zipline as you. One additional thing you can do with these is ride them while you have carryables in your hands. This makes getting the batteries to the fort puzzle much faster, and I'm sure there are other uses for this as well. Tip 2. You can use items in the air to conserve momentum. Whenever you use any item in this game, your character will slow down just a little bit, which can be annoying if you're trying to get behind cover while healing. One thing that you can do to get around this slowdown is using those items while you're in the air. If you jump right before holding your use button, your momentum won't be stopped until you land back on the ground. You can also completely avoid this slowdown if you jump from a small height, but be careful not to fall from too high up and take damage. This is a more minor tip, but it has saved me a few times during intense fights. Tip number 3. Shoot near Rocketeers to draw attention. If you shoot close to a Rocketeer, it will become interested in you, but won't lock on instantly. This means if you are getting pinned down in a fight and need a distraction, you can shoot towards one of these guys and it'll haul over to you, and with any luck end up fighting the guys pinning you down. Be careful not to shoot it directly though, since they do seem to find you pretty quickly if you do this. I also like calling these guys over whenever I'm getting close to extracting, since they often don't shoot down inside the extract itself, which does provide you with some pretty safe cover if any rats run up on you. Tip number 4. Jump rolling over ledges. If you jump early enough, you can actually land directly on a ledge, and then if you spam dodge roll, you can leap over ledges instead of vaulting them. I've mainly used this in the tower lobby on Stella Montis, but there are definitely spots on other maps where you can pull this off as well. I find having my gun put away helps with pulling this off, especially if I'm using a medium or heavy shield, and I even recommend learning to do it while holding one if you plan on rushing people during fights with this. Tip number 5. Trailblazer grenades are insane, especially if you throw them through doors. Trailblazers are probably the coolest grenades in Arc Raiders, at least to me. The explosion looks awesome, they kill arcs very quickly, and best of all, you can throw them through open doors, and even if the door gets closed, the explosion will still go all the way down its trail and through the door. This makes punishing people that are camping on the other sides of doors super easy and low risk for yourself. If you're still looking for this blueprint, I have found a ton of them on Stella Montis in random trash cans. I highly recommend checking this nade out, even if you're mainly a PvE player. Number 6. Shredders are way easier to kill than you might think. The first time that I found a shredder, I panicked a lot and went down instantly once it shot at me. These bots are terrifying, and they come pretty armored up, which makes it seem like they will be super hard to take down. But I have recently found out that you can take them down with guns like the Stitcher or even the Rattler if you shoot super low down near their thrusters. Heavy guns work even better for this, but knowing that I can take these guys down on even a free kit has made them much less scary to deal with. So if you've been too scared to complete your shredder gyros for the expedition, you don't have to be anymore. Just start full sending Stella lobbies and shooting low on the shredders, and you'll have it done in no time. Tip number 7. If you're into PvP, don't use toggle sprint. For the first 200 hours of my playtime in this game, I was a toggle sprint user, and it was great for taking strain away from my pinky, but I finally realized that this option was holding me back massively during PvP fights. Toggle sprint makes being able to consistently pull off sprint dodge rolls difficult. This is because sometimes if your character hasn't registered that they should be sprinting, you'll instead end up doing a slow roll. There were times where I had to continuously retoggle sprint anytime I thought I was about to have to do a dodge roll, and if I forgot to do this, I would end up slow rolling my way into getting downed. Ever since I went back to having to hold sprint though, this has not been a problem in the slightest. Toggle sprint is very handy for dealing with strain, but the amount of times it got me down from slow rolls has made me be okay with having to use hold sprint instead. So maybe try fiddling around with this one if you're not sure why you haven't been able to roll around consistently. Tip number 8. If your kettle now feels bad, you might be clicking too fast. The pre-patch kettle was easily one of the best guns in the entire game, but after this latest update where the kettle fire rate was made the same as the Beretta, it is now pretty bad. One thing that bothers me a lot about this gun is if you click too fast, your gun won't register that you clicked at all, which leads to having a bunch of dead clicks. It almost feels like my gun is locking up at times, which makes using it feel extremely clunky and odd. One way to get around this though is changing up the way you use this gun entirely. I now only try to use it at ranges where I can slow down my clicks since spraying it is no longer an option. Close range fights with it will probably lead to you going down since you can no longer spray, so the long range taps are a much safer option. If you don't have a super fast clicking finger, you may not even notice that this gun was altered. But if the kettle feels god awful to you now and it didn't before, clicking too fast is almost certainly the issue. Tip number 9. Smoke grenades are S tier and maybe even the best nade in the game. For pretty much all of Season 1, I don't think I ever took a smoke grenade in a raid on purpose because I didn't think there was much need for them. But I wanted to change that up for Season 2 in case I had been missing out on something, and it turns out that I have been massively missing out on an insane grenade. Smokes have so many ways that they can be used, and have saved me and my team numerous times since the cover they provide is so good and lasts a while. I've defib people in smokes, I've escaped from extract campers in them, used them for escapes or rushing people during fights, and they can even hide you from arc if you use them before you are spotted. I'm sure there's got to be some other uses for them as well that I haven't came across yet, but even with the ways that I've been using them, they have become a nade that I need with me for every single raid. Tip number 10. Showstoppers are insane in solos. I hate to do back-to-back grenade tips, but showstoppers are another option that I have slept on for a while and only recently found out just how good they are. I mainly use these in solo since a lot of times it's pretty hard to get groups close enough together for the showstopper to hit everyone at the same time, but in solos if you know someone is lurking around, you can just have one of these ready to throw, and once you see them, just throw it in their general direction. If there's no one close enough, these things will explode after a set amount of time, but if they happen to be anywhere near someone at all, it will instantly go off and you have a pretty much guaranteed kill. I also like using these as a way to gain distance on people since usually they get a little bit skittish once they are shocked and a lot of times will stop pushing you since they think that you're about to mow them down. These are also surprisingly easy to make, and I have a feeling we will eventually be seeing these in the same way that we were seeing the trigger nades pre-nerf, so do try to get some use out of these before everyone finds out. And as a non-PvP tip, they can also be used against pretty much every single arc, and they will buy you an easy escape from even the big boys. So PvPers and PvEers can both get some pretty good usage out of these. And now it's time for a couple of bonus tips. First one is going to be to change your intentions up based on what time you join raids. When this game first came out, late spawns weren't too terrible since no one knew what they were doing and loot was still easy to come across. But now that everyone knows the best loot spots and just rushes there with their budget kits out, spawning in late is now a pretty massive disadvantage. Things have now gotten to the point that people will spawn in with literally nothing but some adrenalines so they can beeline straight for popular loot spots. If their spawns are too far away, some people will just surrender instantly and hope for a better spawn in their next raid. A much better strat for late spawners is to now instead go for farm runs for materials that you need a lot of, such as metal or chemicals. Sometimes I'll even completely adjust my intentions from looting over to chasing raider flares, since there's a good chance that anyone going down has a lot of loot on them if they spawned in early. I do agree that late spawns need to be looked at because loading in with an expensive loadout only to have half the raid left and no loot does kinda suck. But for now, there are much better ways to deal with them versus surrendering immediately. Last bonus tip. Another thing that I haven't seen talked about much is being able to tap your quick use button to cycle through quick use items. On PC, if I just tap Q over and over, I can actually cycle through my items without having to pull up the quick use menu. Cycling like this prevents my screen from being blocked so I can always see opponents, and it's much quicker to get to items you want to use if you know what order your stuff is in. You can even take this a step further by holding Q and then hitting the number for which slot you want to use. So if I have my bandages in the first box, I can just hold Q and hit 3 at the same time and bandages come out. This is a more niche tip for sure, but I have come to like being able to cycle through stuff way more than manually picking things out, so try this out if you haven't already. And that's gonna pretty much do it for this video. I do hope you guys were able to learn something new, and I will talk to all of you in the next one. See ya!